Hi everyone, I'm Miranda from Marketing for the Uninhibited, and I'm here with Chris Cash, a real estate agent from Keller Williams. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'm Chris Cash. I am, former life, I was an interior designer. I still am an interior designer.
Yeah.
I've just added the angle of Realtor into the mix. So I call myself kind of a matchmaker of homes. So I help match people with their perfect home and help to make it more beautiful.
And how long have you been in real estate now?
December was a year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It was the best decision I ever made. Great first year.
And how it seems like a natural path from interior designer to real estate, because that's what you're doing, right? Going into people's homes. Were you doing like private homes, or are you doing when you were interior designing?
Actually, yes and no. I started off in interior design with my mother when I was in my 20s, and we owned a decorating den franchise together. And then I ran that with my mother for about 4 years. And then I figured if I was going to continue to love my mother, I couldn't work with her anymore.
Yes, I feel like
So I left, and she continued to run the business, and I got offered a position in marketing and advertising. Wow. Did that for a while, and then got back into design. When I did, I went into commercial design.
Ooh.
So I was doing primarily window coverings for office buildings, restaurants, funeral homes.
Oh, wow.
I even did a convent for
my
nuns.
gosh.
So I had a variety of commercial projects. And then I would once in a while take residential. Then I went strictly residential. So I've done both.
Was there one that you preferred, or are they just so different that it's
so different? Doing residential, you're dealing with a homeowner. There's emotions involved,
right.
Tastes. Lots of opinions. Yeah. When you're dealing with commercial, it's usually a set of blueprints and a budget, and cut and dry, get it done.
Yeah, that would make sense. I can't imagine, I know what it's like to deal with people and their websites and their personal tastes, and I've seen that being micromanaged, but what's it like being in someone else's home trying to design
it's very
that?
personal, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I can't project necessarily my tastes on them. It's their home, right? So I have to remove myself a little bit from the equation of what I like. But I can say, this goes better with this, but in their taste.
So now that you're in real estate, do you think you're better? It almost seems like you'd be better suited to listen to those needs, because you did that for so long?
Yes.
To match them with the right house?
Yes, and I think it helps. A lot of people can't see what a home can be.
Yeah.
It's all of their wants and needs that they have on that list are really there. We just have to bring them out and enhance them. And it's hard for them to visualize. So I help with helping them to visualize what it can be. Because not all homes start out as perfect.
Right. And that's I think, when you're
it's not HGTV.
Homes, no, it's not. And the rehab process is not HGTV either. I mean, it can be, but, I think it's a lot harder than it looks on TV.
A lot harder than it looks. Usually, I'm going to say more expensive than they portray on the show, a much longer time frame. And I'll be getting into that when I do the seminar up at Wickwood House.
Yeah.
I'm bringing in a remodeler that's going to talk about the realistic costs and time frames for remodeling.
And what date is that again?
April 11th.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's coming up.
That's coming up.
So how did you decide? We talked a little bit about this when we met at the networking event, but how did you decide to make the leap from interior design to real estate?
Oh, gosh. My last part of my full-time interior design career actually was spent more behind a desk.
Okay.
I was managing a design center, managing other designers' projects, and I became lost.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out, why am I lost? I'm still doing interior design. I'm just helping other people designers with their projects. Well, it was that loss of connection with being in the community, being involved in the community,
Right.
being with people. I missed that.
Yeah, and you seem like someone who thrives on that connection.
Yeah, so I scheduled a coffee meeting with a woman in Naperville that I have known since we were in our 20s. We were in the Naperville JCs together,
wow.
and I actually did her marketing and advertising at one point and asked her to have coffee with me because she was in real estate. And I just wanted to pick her brain.
Yeah.
But pretty much before I could even say, I told her how I was unhappy at the time, and she goes, "Why aren't you in real estate?" She goes, "You would be so good at it, and you already have, your client base from design, and
Yeah.
you could still keep a toe in design." But she goes, "I think that you would be perfect for real estate." And after talking to her for an hour, I went home that night and said to my husband, "I think I'm signing up for real estate classes."
And what did he say?
He was like, "Good, I just want my wife back."
Aw, that's
because
so
I
sweet.
was not happy.
Yeah.
And I needed to get happy again.
I think when people are either like in the phase where they're thinking about quitting their job or making the leap, there's that fear that happens at first.
Oh, yeah.
And then the fear, but then also like, what is everyone else going to say? What's my husband going to think? What's my family going to
Yes.
think? Friends, were you concerned about?
Yeah, I mean,
Other opinions?
Lots of things ran through my brain of, people are going to think, "Are you crazy? You're walking away from a job that is a salary. You're 6 miles from home.
Right.
I don't work nights or weekends. They're going to think, what's wrong with me?
Right.
Well, what was wrong with me is it wasn't right. And you got to figure out what's your why.
Mm-hmm.
My why for me was not money
Right.
driven. My why is a connection with others, and being around people that are positive and supportive, and therefore being able to be positive and supportive to others. That's my why.
Did you? I'm sorry. There was a huge. I got distracted.
Something's going on upstairs.
Yes. As always when we're here. But I think that's good, and I think people tend to tune out their why in an effort maybe to appease other people or because they're concerned of
they want to stay in their safety zone too.
Yeah.
You make every excuse to stay in your safety zone.
So how do you think, like, what drives you to be comfortable outside of that safety zone?
Trying to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is we're not on this earth for that long when you really think about it.
Yeah.
And I think approached an age where I was like, you know what, I don't got that many years to work in realistic. I don't want those last years of my work life to be miserable. Also, wanting to challenge myself. I didn't feel challenged anymore. I felt like a robot because I was doing the same thing I had done for 15 years. I did it well. And it was like, okay, what else? There's got to be something else. There's got to be something. And another bigger picture is, okay, if I want to retire comfortably, I've also got to do something where I can make more money.
Yeah.
I was kind of stagnant where I was at.
So you kind of hit a plateau there.
Yeah.
I was talking about this the other day with someone else and how when you're in the corporate world, you pretty much know the trajectory for your role.
And what your cap and income is going to be. And
exactly.
with real estate, there is no cap.
Exactly, and just entrepreneurship in general.
And there's so many different avenues. I sell real estate, list homes and sell them. But there's also investment angles, and you want to do investment properties. Do you want to do flips? So there's different avenues to make money.
Right.
Too.
It sounds like when you started off, you had a niche, like you have interior design background. So how has that gone? I know we kind of talked about it. But.
Great, and it's growing because I just over the years I have done some staging of properties for sale. And I was doing that as a designer for other real estate agents.
Right.
So I kind of have a collection in my basement of various accessories and wall art and small furniture items. And I've kept those. And so I stage, my own properties for sale now and plan to grow that staging end of the business. So I'll be able to not only stage for myself and others, but I also have some designers that I'm going to bring on board to help me.
Oh, cool.
Because if I get too busy, I can't do both.
And that's a good problem to have.
Right.
And also knowing when to delegate and what to delegate is a good boss move.
Right. Right. Same thing when a buyer moves into a new home and they need things. Sometimes I'm able to help, but sometimes I will need to bring another designer in to help. Mm-hmm.
There was shoot, I just had a question I was going to ask you about that. Darn. Anyway. No, there was... Okay, well, we'll move on because I had a question. So now that you're 1 year in, how long do you foresee this going on? And how do you see it growing?
Well, particularly the design and staging, and that can be a whole business unto itself.
Right.
I was recently at one of Keller Williams training events in Austin, and there was a woman that got up and spoke in a small group session that we had. I believe she was in Florida. Same as me. Mm-hmm. Went from interior design to real estate and was just staging her own listings, and then more and more agents were asking her to stage for them. She started getting a collection. That collection outgrows your basement. So pretty soon you have to get a storage unit.
Oh, wow.
And it grew so much that now she has a moving van that's completely wrapped with her logo and information on it. She has a driver and delivery guys. And she has a 10,000 square foot facility of furniture, accessories, and she has a staff of 15.
Oh my gosh.
That just runs the staging and design end of it.
How many years has she been doing this?
Not sure, but
that's
probably
amazing.
But I could see a need for that, and may pursue that. We'll see how things go.
Wow. So what?
There's a bug.
There's bugs.
Sorry.
There's noises. This is just real life
maybe
here.
Bug means spring's coming.
Yeah. Oh, I heard some birds this morning, and I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, birds outside my window. There's hope.
Yeah.
So I know staging is important when it comes to listing a home.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what about the role that photography plays?
Huge. If I could do like one shout out to the realtors in the world, it's do not take pictures with your cell phone of your properties.
Right.
Our job as realtors is to showcase that home in the best light possible to the public. You're not doing that by taking cell phone pictures.
Right.
Part of my expenses in my business, because it is my business, is to pay a professional photographer to go in and take pictures.
And did you ever not use a professional photographer? No. Okay. Because there is, I would imagine, a difference between like your days on market and the clientele that you attract when you use a professional photographer.
Your first impression is usually on the search engine sites, Realtor.com, Zillow, all of those. If a consumer is looking through those and they're just scrolling pictures, what listing do you think they're going to ask their agent to show them first?
And it's obvious. Well, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but when you're looking on, because I have some of those apps on my phone just for fun, just to look, and it's so obvious who has used a professional photographer and who has used someone to stage and set the scene versus those that haven't.
Right.
And why would you?
For various reasons. I mean, training is number one. A lot of agents just weren't trained that way. Gotcha. I was trained that way from Keller Williams from the start. Budget.
Yeah.
Two, if you're an agent who is selling at a reduced commission rate.
Right.
You're less apt to spend your business money on things like that.
Yeah.
So that's, as a homeowner and you're hiring an agent, that's something you need to look at.
Right.
If you're working with somebody that is at a lower commission rate, Well, what are the chances they're going to spend money to market your property then?
So as a homeowner then, if your agent isn't going to get professional photography, can you hire a photographer, or is it really on the agent?
I think that's poor customer service on the point of the agent, but sure, you could.
Okay, so you could. And then, okay, so when you start a business, I mean, there are always investment costs up front.
Yep.
But I feel like in real estate, well, maybe you can explain. I think, oh, no, I didn't.
Pete is going to be after us now, killing bugs on air.
Well, we're not going for a PETA sponsor. We'll take the Tito sponsor instead.
Yes, there are startup costs. However, having owned a business before, I've worked with 2 small business owners, and you see what expense goes into opening your own bricks and mortar store. There's no other business that you can start for as little as money as being in real estate. There's licensing fees and brokerage fees, and I pay for advertising and self-promotion, of course, too. But no other business could you get into for less money.
So when you say you pay for advertising, is that through Keller Williams? Or
No, we all act as independent business owners. We just hold our licenses at a brokerage. You have to by law. Yeah. So my brokerage happens to be Keller Williams, but we are all treated as individual business owners. So, I pay anytime I place an ad in a magazine. I pay for my own signs. I pay for social media posts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and are you responsible then do you put together your own marketing plan?
I do. There are some agents that hire out professionals to help them with that because it's not their thing. Yeah. But kind of marketing and advertising was my thing too. Exactly. For a while. But I just recently brought on a friend of yours to help me with the social media end of it all, because that can become very overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, and it is time consuming. Yeah. I think as an agent, you're on the go a lot of the time.
I don't want to be stuck in front of my computer doing social media posts.
Yeah. Jessica's going to be great at that.
Yeah.
And your website. So then, it's the website you're building for real estate?
Yeah, and the staging and design part. Wow. There'll be 2 separate sites, but, kind of connected together.
So when you were younger, because it seems like you are creative and definitely a people person. You always were?
Yeah.
Were you involved in anything specific? Were you an artist? Were you
No, I just, kind of remember as a kid, my favorite things were boxes of crayons and Light Bright. You're too young to remember Light Bright because I liked all the colors, and I wasn't that much of a doll person, although I liked the clothes, the fashion of it, so things like that. And I have done a little painting, but not, huge amount of painting.
And your mom was in the industry too then, so she was similar in that regard. So how did you come to get, what is it, teal and orange kitchen?
Not completely. My kitchen's really gray, but I added teal and orange accents.
Where did you add the accents?
I bought these.
Damn, I thought it was going to be like orange walls.
No. I bought the coolest glass art tiles from I think Lee told me that they're the oldest glass blowing studio in Illinois. They're in Riverside. And they have the coolest glass art in there. So I bought these tiles, and they're orange with teal dots in them, and I hung them by my range instead of some mortaring it to the wall like a backsplash. I hung them. So that was the inspiration. Cool. Then I started adding kind of retro teal vases and an orange pitcher and things to that, and then I have dining room chairs that are covered in an orange fabric.
Fun.
So it's not all over in your face, teal and orange, but it has a little bit of a retro vibe.
I really like that. I like neutral most of the time, but then the bright pops of color, I think, because sometimes if you put a lot of color in a room, it can be color vomit. But then when you do it like you do, tastefully,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
have you ever had to design a place that you were like, this is not good, or that you completely disagreed with?
I don't know. I disagreed with. It was hard for me. I did one time a Victorian historical home that the person wanted to stay with the Victorian theme of the outside of the house and the inside. Victorian is not my thing.
Yeah.
Lace and ruffles and is so not me. So it was very hard, to design Victorian.
And where do you have to do research for that then?
I did a little bit for that, yes. But she knew what she wanted. Mm-hmm.
So in that case, you're listening to the client and just kind of executing to plan.
Yeah, and she had historic pieces, for me to use as far as furniture went. But doing window treatments in Victorian style, was not easy.
Where did you get those?
Oh, I had them all custom made. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. So who's custom making? Like who do you go to custom make? Victorian
when
things?
I worked, I used to work for a lot of people in the area will know Roseland Draperies. They were in downtown Naperville for 35 years. We had our own workroom that would fabricate our custom draperies. And at that time, a lot of people were doing heavy draperies and huddling on the ground and the swags and all that. Then, now we're seeing much more simplistic drapery. But now I just use 2 local, workrooms that they're not open to the public.
Yeah.
They're just for designer use. And I'll have them fabricate for me.
That's amazing. So then in your house, did you how do you go about designing your own house?
It's hard.
I would imagine.
Even picking out paint colors for yourself is hard.
Right.
So I'll call a friend in. That's why people hire designers. You're too close to it, right? You need somebody else to help you. So, but my house is pretty simplistic. I like, I'm going to say 1960s Scandinavian clean lines, tailored. So I don't have a lot. People are usually surprised that I don't have a lot of
it's not this over the top thing,
and I don't have a lot of accessories. Everything is very clean.
And it's good that you know what you like, because I think, and this can be the same for web design or social media or whatever, that sometimes you just don't know what you need, but you need help. So is it easier? Because I know I have gone to a logo designer before and been like, okay, I know I don't like these things.
Yeah, people usually know what they don't like.
And that's where they start? Is that the base
Tell
process?
me what you hate.
How do you develop a home style? Because I feel like I'm living in an apartment right now. And I like thrifting. So I found a really cool bar cart at Goodwill that I then painted and rehabbed. So now it's my record player area in my living room with my plants and stuff. But I feel like I just kind of throw pieces together and I lack cohesiveness. And so, do you have any advice? How do I bring it all together?
Well, I can see in an apartment it is hard because probably you can see most of it from your living room.
Yes.
You can see everything,
Exactly.
right? So it's hard to move things into other rooms when it gets a little overwhelming. But I usually tell people, to pick 3 things that are your core favorite. If somebody told you had to get rid of everything in the room, but you could keep 3 things, what would they be?
Yes.
And those become your center, your focal point.
Okay.
Right? So say it's your bar cart. So that's going to be your focal point.
Oh.
So and that's your style, is that bar cart.
Yeah, I love that bar cart.
And then you're allowed to put limited things on the bar cart.
Yeah.
You can't junk up the bar cart.
I know.
3, I say odd numbers. So 3 or 5 things on the top of the bar cart.
Okay. Then I need to declutter.
And then, whatever your other 2 things are, maybe one of those things goes on a mantle or on a shelf, and you can decorate around that one thing. 3 or 5 things.
That makes
So
sense.
sometimes you need to edit.
Yes.
And get rid of things that you don't love. Let somebody else love them.
How do you feel about Marie Kondo, because I was thinking about like how she says the process, to hold it and like, does it give you joy? Because I did that in some aspects, like with my clothes, but I haven't done that in
Absolutely.
other knickknacks and things.
Yeah. I mean, I have helped women that they have something that's been in their living room for over 20 years. Well, do you love it? Not really. I'm like, then, yes, it's nice. Yes, I can see you spent a lot. See, what holds people onto that sometimes is they think, I spent a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you spent a lot of money for that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You have gotten 20 years of love out of it.
Right.
Now give it to somebody else who will love it for another 20 years.
And it doesn't have to go to Goodwill. That was something that like killed my grandma when we were cleaning out.
No, it doesn't have to.
No.
There's lots of local organizations that will take that to help women in transition. I work with Bridge Communities out of Glen Ellen, and we provide housing for women coming out of bad situations. And I've gone into a home that we did for a Bridge recipient and decorated that place.
Right.
Some of these women have never had nice things before.
Yeah.
So to come in and see, a whole plate, not just that you were given the keys to a place to go in, but to walk in and have it be fully furnished.
Oh my gosh. And with nice things.
Nice things, yeah.
I think I volunteer with Mutual Ground, which is similar.
Same, yep,
Yeah, right here in Aurora. And so I try to donate most of my stuff there so that they can use it when they transition. Or even Hesed House.
Hesed
which
House,
is nice.
yeah. Humble Design in Chicago is another great one. So yeah, you don't have to just drop it off at Goodwill.
Yeah.
You can reach out to many that it's actually going to a real person that lives in your community that you are bringing joy to.
And when I lived in Virginia, I worked at a retirement community. And so they were, the residents there were constantly moving or downsizing, and so that was cool because then sometimes their family members would ask like if you needed it or if we're going to donate it, but if someone here can use it. So then and you never know what those people could have. I got one of those handheld blenders that was like from the 70s, that weird 70s green color.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. It worked great. I didn't bring it back to Illinois, but so many cool things came out of that retirement community. And then my office was full of like 5 or 6 women, like in their 40s or 50s, and I was moving into a studio by myself, and they literally said, bring us a list of what you need. Yeah. And they went digging in their attics and their garages, and they furnished my entire apartment for free.
Yeah. I mean, you can't believe how many times people have things in their basements that they got as wedding gifts.
Yes.
And never opened them.
Oh my gosh. Or like their daughter moved home from college and they never gave it away. It's just been sitting in the attic. I was amazed. And they're so willing to help if they know.
Yeah.
Like and sometimes that goes back to the person themselves. Like if you ask, if you're moving, when I moved here into my apartment here, my aunts, I have a huge family. My mom is one of 7. My dad is one of 8. My stepmom's one of 12.
Wow. And I'm an only child.
Are you really?
Yeah, so I've always been gravitated towards people like you that have big families.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because Marshall and I talk about this sometimes, but he has a really small family. But I grew up my uncles picking on us. There's a photo I just found of my uncle flying my brother around by his underwear. That's the kind of family we grew up in. Anyway, they're more than happy to help when you need it. And so it was the same thing. It was like, okay, well, my aunt gave me a crock pot. I
think that goes back to the saying of you would be surprised what people will do if you just ask.
Right.
And that was something I was taught a long time ago when I started working with charities in the area. And, part of working for charities is sometimes asking for donations, asking for money and, drives. And somebody once told me that. You will be surprised what people will do if you simply ask. Yeah. And when you put it that way, it doesn't make it sound like, oh, I'm calling and, begging people for money,
Right.
No, I'm just going to simply ask. They can say no.
But
most people do not. They want to help.
They do want to help, and I think a lot of times people don't know how to help. So if you give them an option that's not just a monetary option. So like, for example, when I moved, I was not like, I need, $100 to go buy all of my kitchen supplies. I was very specific. Like, well, I don't have kitchen towels. I don't have nice knives. I don't have cutting boards. And then you get the things you need versus like random stuff, which can happen too.
Sure.
Which some of my aunts were like, if you don't want it, just give it away. Like get it out of my
Right.
house.
And I would say that's probably the biggest thing that realtors run into when they're listing a home.
Yeah.
Is not so much the staging, but getting people to get rid of the clutter.
Yeah.
And it's hard. That's emotional for people.
Right.
To have to get rid of things. Or even just pack them up and put them in a storage unit. It's emotional for them.
So what is that? Do you have a process when you work with people?
Yeah, I mean, usually I will go through with a list, and I will start to, make a list of everything that needs to be eliminated.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean they have to get rid of it.
Right.
If they want to put it in a storage unit and wait till their next house to take it with them, they can. But a cluttered home also does not sell very well. And you don't want your personal items also, or anything even of really great value. God forbid, somebody brings, kids into a showing with which they often do, and one of your items gets broken that was very valuable.
Right.
You don't want that to happen either.
Yeah, because then, then it's just not there anymore, and it's not like you can hold them responsible.
Right. So I usually make a list of decluttering. Also closets and pantries. People need to get rid of usually half of their clothes because the closets are crammed. Shoes and boots and all of that. I'll give them little, pretty baskets to put everything in, so everything looks neat and tidy.
I think after working in the retirement community, that was probably the biggest takeaway, because I was actually the listing real estate agent in that retirement community. So I did sales and marketing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they had a brokerage on site, and when I got hired by the marketing director, and they were like, and you may help with sales. And then it was like, okay, we're going to have you get your real estate license and all this. And then I was, anyway, it ended up being a much bigger role than we anticipated. So that retirement community, when you moved in, your buy-in was the purchase of your home. So everyone who was moving in was like moving out of these homes they had lived in for 40 years.
I mean, they still do that around here.
Yeah, exactly. And that process was so emotional, but then I was on the other end. So when those residents were in the retirement community and were no longer able to live in their home independently, that's an even more emotional decision, because a lot of times then you're dealing with the families and the estates and the attorneys and all of that. And so just watching these people go through their parents' stuff. And when my grandpa got to that point where he had to downsize, he was throwing away bags of history because he was like, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, they become overwhelmed.
Yeah, so overwhelmed. And there's so many things now that like my family will bring up and like, oh, it's probably gone, And my grandma was like the opposite, where she didn't want to let go of anything because we have a ton of cousins and family members, but I was in Virginia. I didn't want to take her china back to Virginia. Like, my other cousins were not in a position where they wanted to take the china home either. And so she was like in tears about letting go of her china, and we should have found, like you said, like someone she could have gifted it to. I don't know what happened to it actually, but she didn't want her china to go to Goodwill.
Yeah, I don't know if people still do china anymore.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do.
And it was like such a big deal for her to have that set, I think, because they grew up really poor.
Because usually it's not the thing, it's the memory that surrounds the thing, right? So she was probably given it as a wedding gift, or just remembers family gatherings and everybody using that china. So it's usually not the thing, it's the memories emotions surrounding the thing.
Yeah, and I don't know where it went. But that's a really hard process to go through. And I know my mom, having gone through that with my grandparents, has like started cleaning out her closets and her attic and everything, because one, you don't want your children to be in that same position if you don't do it, but then two, while you have control and time, I think it's easier to go through it piece by piece.
Right.
Versus, she's considering selling too, but that's a little more motivation for her now, you know. But so are you pretty good about clutter then in your own home?
No, it's weird. Yes, in the main living spaces.
Yeah.
My husband would majorly argue that fact with my closet, my out of control shoe habits, and my office. My office, I like to call it goes through a binge and a purge.
I'm the same.
I go through these waves where I hit a wall and I'm like, I cannot do a single thing until I clean this whole thing and get it all organized. And then I get busy and I let stuff pile and I start throwing things where they shouldn't be, and pretty soon, how did all this clutter happen? Now I gotta purge again.
Yes.
You know, so to consistently keep it clean and organized, no.
And how
but
do
I
people-
love it clean and organized.
I do love it clean and organized, and I think I work better that way, but I'm the same way. Like when I left my home office right now, I was like, when did this tornado happen?
Right.
Like, I thought
And it's usually paperwork, mail, and, various flyers I get from events, people's business cards, how did all these piles happen?
What do you do with business cards? I mean,
I want a system for business cards. And why can't we just eliminate those in the world?
Okay, so
in the age of technology now,
Yes.
why can't we eliminate the paper business card?
I think we can, because I went to a conference in LA last year. It was a much younger crowd than I thought. Like a lot of 20s. I thought it was more entrepreneurial, but it was more like I like the idea of being an entrepreneur. I haven't yet, made the leap. But nobody, I had just rebranded. I had new business cards. I rushed them so I could have them for the conference, and no one had business cards. No one. I asked one lady.
See, if our phones would, phones, I know my Samsung, you can touch it to another Samsung and it can transfer. But unfortunately, not everybody's on the same
Sounds like a good app idea.
thing. Yeah.
A good app idea?
Yeah, it would pull up on your phone.
Cool.
So if somebody says, oh, do you have a card? You can just pull it up your phone and go, touch your phone to my phone and you got it.
Right. But everyone was doing Instagram. That was the business card, and people were just passing their phones around whatever circle we were sitting in. And
that's so
Instagram.
awkward.
It was so bizarre. And then we
got to come up with a business idea right here, right now,
The app.
to eliminate business cards. The app. What kind of app can we develop?
Something like that, where you scan something, you have your own barcode.
But yeah, I mean, most people have a barcode reader on the phone, right?
Yeah,
I love QR codes, I think that was
that was the point, right?
And it didn't make it.
It didn't make it.
Because I don't think people were using them correctly. And then
Snapchat.
Snapchat. Oh, but Instagram now has a thing where you can scan. If you pull up your Instagram code, then I can scan your code and right. Mm-hmm. That's how that works. We need to figure that out because I have.
I mean, I love my logo that
Yeah.
I just did. My logo is very pretty. But, I don't think I need to hand it out in cards. I'd rather people see it on my website. They see it on my other marketing materials. And
Right.
I don't need the abundance of cards all the time.
Cards and just print material in general. Because especially when you do an event, that stuff ends up in the garbage.
Yeah.
You can talk to someone about it and you can give them that, but it's 9 times out of 10 going to go straight in the trash. And that's a hard thing, I think, for old school people to realize, because the amount of money that I think people are wasting on print budgets when it's not necessary anymore. If you're going to do it, then do it well and make sure that it's going to have a lasting impact. Outside of that, little flyers, even business card, it's really not necessary.
I like when people hand out promotional products with, that's something that's fun and clever with their logo on it.
What if they had a thumb drive?
Those are always nice.
Something
I think it all goes back to being specific. and intentional, like knowing your audience with what. So I'm working with a client now who ships a lot on Etsy for weddings. And so we were thinking of ways that she could like spice up her packaging when she sends it. So if you're sending 12 custom koozies for a bachelorette party, then you could also include a shot glass with your logo on it, like congratulations, love, this company.
Yeah.
And then they're going to use it. Because I would have done that. I was maid of honor 2 years in a row, so I have some experience in that
You
department.
could use a shot glass.
Yeah, exactly. But we could have at the bachelorette party too, like that's something, oh cool, we'll take this. So
Yeah, I love clever marketing ideas.
I do too. And it's not, everyone can use a pen, but you're going to lose it.
You're going to lose that pen.
Yeah. And if you don't buy good quality pens,
Right.
then it's going straight in the trash too.
Right. They break, the little springs pop out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they
Gotta get
don't
a
write
nice
well, or I think we can get just more intentional with because even here, like I've been thinking about getting glasses,
pen. Yes.
like branded stemware
Mugs
or
or
mugs or something. Yeah.
Right.
Like a talk show. I don't know how many
Yes.
people watch it versus listen to it, so that's something I'm experimenting with
Well,
too. But
now maybe people can chime in of should we blatantly display our vodka and soda, or should it be hidden in a mug like on a talk show?
oh my God. I always wonder, don't you wonder, like, if
Oh,
the
they
water-
all have alcohol
You
in those
think?
mugs. Yeah. Well,
Oh.
maybe not morning shows, except for Kathy Lee and Hoda.
Well, and they're just wide open with it. They don't care.
Yeah.
Because they're Kathy Lee and Hoda. They
But I
can
think
do that.
nighttime talk shows, they always have liquor in those coffee mugs.
Oh my God, I always thought it was water.
I don't think so.
I did have coffee mugs for a while because I thought it was funny for that reason. Like, you never know what's in there. But then one broke, so I thought, whatever. Now but that's why I need whether it's branded or not, I need glasses to keep here.
Yeah, I think you need prettier glasses.
Yeah, prettier glass, not
Yeah.
these.
Because you're mainly promoting women on the program.
Yeah, a
right?
lot of
Right?
women.
We're both into that, promoting women in business.
Yeah. And even men, they don't mind drinking out of a fancy glass. They're just about the experience.
Yeah.
My brother has the fanciest espresso cups, like from all over the world. It's become a thing. People go places and they bring Eddie these like,
Espresso cups.
like handmade.
That's really cool.
He has one from here. Maybe there's just one from here and one from Mexico. Maybe. And maybe.
From all over the world, Aurora and Mexico.
We did buy him some from Turkey, but then
Turkey.
they broke. And then there was one other place he had them from. So he has some cool
Unless
ones.
you get one from Asia or something, it's not interesting.
It's not.
It's not. It's just a white.
Yeah, it's just
espresso
boring.
cup.
Exactly. If it's not handmade, I don't care. My mom did get him a really cool one. It looks like Willy Wonka, so that was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, my brother is a different character. He's like the most well-read meathead you'll ever meet. And yeah, it's interesting.
So kind of a nerd.
Yeah, but a nerd in like the most athletic nerd. He calls himself a vanilla gorilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, you have to just see.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. If you see him, it makes sense. So you're an only child?
Yes.
Is your husband an only child?
No, he has two brothers.
Wow, you guys have a small family and you don't have children, correct?
Don't have children, just two dogs. And yes, we're those crazy people who think our dogs are like our children.
But they are. They're part of your family.
They are.
Sounds easier.
Yeah.
It is a heck of a lot easier and a heck of a lot cheaper. I've had some pretty hefty vet bills lately, but for the most part, I have a college tuition to pay for.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Or somebody now.
A wedding.
Or a wedding. Or, now some people have their children at their house till after they're 35. I wouldn't want that either.
Oh, no.
So dogs are definitely less expensive.
Yeah, they. I did move back home from 29 to 30, almost 31. I did 2 years when I came back from Virginia, because I went to college.
What you have to do.
Yeah, you have. Well, and my mom was like gracious enough to let me come back.
But it's not living in your mother's basement till you're 35.
Oh no.
Uh-huh.
It
There's
was
a lot of kids out there doing that now.
Yeah, but I don't know how.
Sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible. Yeah, especially I couldn't wait to leave. I mean, I left home at 17. I graduated a year earlier than my class was scheduled to graduate, and I took off and went to LA.
Oh my gosh, you did?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna manage a heavy metal band. It was in the 80s, y'all. Big hair and all, I went. Uh-huh.
Wow.
What was
Did
the
you-
band?
They were called Prisoner. Not to be confused with the also popular Poison.
Yes.
I know you can confuse those.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah.
And did you grow up around here?
I grew up in Northwest Indiana primarily. I was born in Ohio.
Okay.
Went to elementary school in Ohio. And most of my relatives are still in Ohio. And then I went to high school in a small school in Northwest Indiana.
So how did you find this? Like, how did you end up with this metal band?
Guys I went to high school with.
Wow. And they went to LA.
They
and
went
you
to
were
LA
like,
and I went
"Bye,
out there.
Mom."
I didn't last very long before
Yeah.
I was calling my mother, crying for, a plane ticket home.
Oh my gosh. That's
Mm-hmm.
an amazing story, though. And then you came back. Where are those guys now? Did they hit it big?
No, I know one is back living in Northwest Indiana, but I don't know what happened to the rest of them.
You have to do it when you're that age. You have to try it because you can always move home, and that's what
Right.
my mom always told me.
So I
that.
guess I've always been a risk taker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky enough to have a mom that's supportive and is like, you can always come home.
Right.
That was always my safety net when I studied abroad in college. I went to Ireland, and I was terrified. I mean, you're moving across the ocean, like.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, but
That's scary. Well, I don't know. LA in the 80s was pretty darn scary.
LA, yeah. That's where the conference was
Yeah.
last year, and so that was.
No,
a
I did stay with an aunt and an uncle there, so I was in a little bit of a safety zone. If
Yeah.
I hadn't been staying with a relative out there, it would really scary.
It is. But you grow a lot, and at that age, when you're 18, 19, 20, like, you can sleep anywhere. You can go out and then get up and be productive in the morning, go to school. That's where I met my best friend in Ireland. But it was always, you can come home. And then later, I graduated from college, blah, 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 and got a job. And then I moved to Virginia to be with my best friend, to live with her. They had like 6 months left on their lease. And my mom was like, yeah, you can always come home. It's just a drive.
Yeah.
So, and then 6 months turned into 4 years.
Yeah.
And that was it. Have you ever, outside of moving to LA, lived anywhere else?
No, not really. There was a short stint in Tucson, Arizona. That's part of my life I want to block out.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's always Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois.
Yeah. I lived in Illinois most of the
So,
life. and then
Midwest
4
girl.
years. Yeah. Midwest. And when you go to Virginia, they do call the Midwest the flyover states. And I didn't realize how many people truly fly over them.
Well, I don't. That's not what I would consider the flyover states.
What do you consider it, like Nebraska?
When people tell me flyover states, I think of our middle America that's often forgotten.
Yes.
Nebraska,
Iowa.
those states that don't get we get a lot of attention in Illinois,
Yeah.
good and bad,
Right.
but a lot of attention because we have a major city, so we're a hub
Yeah.
rather than a flyover state.
I know. But it's amazing, even with Chicago, how many people, and then vice versa, so flyover, and then vice versa, how many people from Illinois thought I was living in West Virginia. Like, no, I'm in Virginia.
Virginia's way different than
Yes.
West Virginia.
Way different. And, they're next door to each other.
Yeah, but they're very different.
Very
I've
different.
been to West by God, Virginia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We both have family from West Virginia. I shot my first gun in West Virginia. As I
I did
should.
not see the Mothman. Did you see Mothman Prophecies?
Yes.
I wanted to see the Mothman that was supposed to be in West Virginia.
Have you ever seen the documentary The Wild and Wacky Whites of West Virginia?
No, I would love that.
Oh, you would love it. It's about a family. I think they're called the Whites is their last name. And they are wacky. Yeah, it is. It's not a good portrayal of West Virginia.
No, I'm sure it's not. And I went to West Virginia to go to the Fiesta Ware factory.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it.
Oh, my gosh. So my grandma's family grew up in East Liverpool, Ohio, which is on the Ohio River.
Been there?
Yes.
I think I had lunch there.
You probably did, because
It's some cute little tea shop or something.
I haven't been there in a long time. But before it was like Fiesta Ware as we know it now,
Yes.
they all worked in the pottery
Fiesta Ware
shop.
factory.
Yep. And so,
Yeah, so my mother and my aunts would go down there, plan a weekend, and we like to rummage through the bins of the imperfect, stuff. Or a lot of people don't know they manufacture for lots and lots of restaurants. So there's some with like wacky restaurant logos on them.
Yeah.
I have some big platters that I got from there that I used for barbecues, and they just have, wacky restaurant logos on them. But they were all made from Fiesta Ware.
There was, I can't think of the logo, but every time we went to a restaurant, until my grandma passed away, she would flip over the plates and look for the logo.
The Fiesta Ware logo. Yep.
And then we finally found one, because we used to joke, what are you going to do when you find one? Are you going to put it in your purse? And then we did. There was one day, and I put it in my purse. It was just a little dinner, appetizer
Yeah,
plate.
so I have colorful, that's my orange pitcher that's in my orange and teal kitchen.
Oh, cool.
It's Fiesta Ware. I have a white pitcher. I have Fiesta Ware mugs and things. But I'm on the quest for the cobalt blue. I have a creamer and a sugar thing, but I'm missing the sugar bowl. I have 2 creamers and no sugar bowl. So I need the cobalt blue sugar bowl. It's probably worth a fortune.
Yeah, I'm sure. You should check. Do you ever look on eBay?
No, I haven't in a long time.
eBay's I have the app on my phone. It's just, you never know what you're going to find on there.
Yeah. Or if somebody out there has a cobalt blue sugar bowl.
Cobalt blue.
I need to. And I also want the aqua pitcher, the aqua blue pitcher.
Ooh, I have an aqua Fiesta Ware mug, and that is my favorite
Yeah,
mug.
I love the aqua.
Yeah, that's really nice. Well, I feel
Are we
like
close to? Are we close to time?
Yeah.
Jeez.
We can wrap. I mean, we can keep talking. We can wrap whenever we want. It's up to us.
we can call time.
Yeah.
We're at 52 minutes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. See, it's been a while. Doesn't it go fast?
Yes, it does. And yeah, I'm definitely going to encourage other women who want to do this.
Good.
Great.
Yeah. I thank you for coming. And how can people get a hold of you if they have questions about interior design or selling their home?
Well, they can go to chriscashrealty.com. That goes to my direct website.
Is that CHRIS?
CASH, just like it sounds. I have an easy name to remember. Chris
That's a
Cash.
pretty cool name.
Yeah, well, not when I worked at a bank.
I
did.
God,
I worked at a bank for a short period of time when I was in college, and they used to call me Chris Can't Count the Cash because my cash drawer was forever off a couple pennies.
Really?
Yeah, a couple pennies, not off by a huge amount.
Yeah.
I think I would have gotten in trouble for that. But I was always off like a couple pennies, and so they used to call me Chris Can't Count the Cash.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Right. But now my name, I like it. It's actually my main name. I didn't take my husband's last name because so many people in the community knew me by my last name, or even would just call me Cash.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
that
pretty
I couldn't give it up.
Oh my gosh. It's hard, I think, if you're building your career before you get married.
Yeah,
you really
I've
have to
gotten married later in life, so
make that decision. But that's good for you.
He wanted to take my last name.
Okay. This has been a common theme with my friends lately because some of them had cooler maiden names than their husband's last name.
Yeah, you could take your wife's last name.
You can.
For sure.
And then you... Why does that make you uncomfortable?
It usually makes the in-laws uncomfortable like it did mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't want my husband to do that.
Because it breaks tradition?
Yeah.
And I had a couple that really, really considered it, and then when it came down to it, they went the traditional route. Like, well, only you can decide. You also don't have to take your husband's last name. No. Period.
And plus, I was just lazy. I didn't want to change all my credit cards and my driver's license. It's so much work.
Yeah. No. And you didn't have children.
No.
So it's not like they would have thought it was weird,
Even so, celebrities do it all the time.
Yeah. Do you think they really do, or they just maintain that public persona?
Yeah, I think there's probably a mixture of both.
Yeah, that's true. Probably a mixture of both. Anyway, this has been lovely.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you wanted to get out there? I think.
I think, mainly I just like you. I want to encourage women to, if you're like me and you waited till you're 50 years old to start a new career, to take a leap of faith and do it. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about it.
I think that having people of different ages on here is so important because you can see that can be done at any age. Like, you're not too old, you're not too young, you're not too inexperienced.
Right.
You just got to go for it.
Go for it.
But also, and have that support too.
Oh, and and I never was taught this, but I think a lot of women were, is fear of failure. I say fear.
Right.
Fail often,
Yes.
fail forward. That's kind of our company motto.
Right.
You're gonna fail.
And fail faster.
And fail fast, fail often, fail forward.
Yes, that has been.
It's okay to fail.
It is, but you just can't get stuck there.
No, get stuck.
And that's been a recurring theme on this podcast, especially like when it comes to marketing and people pour their heart into something and they work on it and then it's just not working. You have to know when to give that up and say this failed. I need to move on. Because if you get stuck in the failure part, then you're just never going to make forward progress.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's a great way to end it then.
Yeah.
All right, let's cheers.
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 Thank you.
Woohoo. We did it.